After the lie of the golf ball, wind is the biggest external factor that influences the result of our golf shots. Yet most amateurs still massively underrate its effect and have no clue how to adjust for it. So in this video, I show you this simple wind formula that you can use on the golf course to improve your score. Hi guys, my name is Kevin and I'm normally working in Formula 1 as a data and strategy expert, but probably like you, I'm also a very passionate amateur golfer and I was always obsessed with the question, what really does make a good score in golf? So last year we had an interesting 2v2 match on my German YouTube channel. We not only played one of the hardest golf courses in the country, but we actually played in one of the hardest conditions I can remember ever playing golf at. So with wind speeds up to 85 kph, which is more than 50 miles per hour, we not only could barely hold our stance, but we were faced with hard decisions all the time about club choices. So on one hole, we would hit our driver over 330 yards, but on the next one, we barely carried it 200 yards. But it was also tough for our approach game. On one hole, we would use a gap wedge from 170 yards. On the next hole, we couldn't even carry our 7-iron 120 yards. And after I scanned through lots of data, I found out there's actually a system and I want to share it with you. But before I do that, we have to talk about the 4 basic effects that wind has on our golf ball. Number 1, carry distance. So that's of course pretty obvious and that's why it's number 1. So as the wind puts force on the ball in the flight phase, the ball speed in the flight phase can either increase or decrease, leading to changes in carry distance. So your ball could fly longer or shorter based on the wind direction. Number 2, height. So the wind will not influence your initial spin rate when you hit the ball, but it influences the spin behavior when the ball is in the air, leading to a change in height. And this will ultimately lead to changes in distance, as easily spoken, your spin rate in the air will either get higher or lower depending on the wind direction. Effect number 3, run out. So based on these changes in height of a ball flight, the landing angle can either increase or decrease, leading to a change in the depth of your pitch mark. And this will ultimately lead to changes in the roll behavior of your ball. So if the angle gets lower, your ball will run out further, while on the other side, if the angle gets bigger, your ball will stop quickly. And effect number 4, curve. So based on the wind direction and strength, the curve of the ball can get either bigger or smaller. And this will ultimately lead to changes in accuracy. But this is a topic I won't cover that much in this video, as it is more about picking the right club distance-wise. And obviously headwind and tailwind have the biggest influence regarding the distance of our golf shots. But the question is, how big is that effect? So before I go into detail and share my wind formula with you, I must say there will always be variables out there. Because each golfer has a different natural height of the ball flight and a different natural spin level. So if you normally hit the ball very high and with lots of spin, wind will for sure be a bigger factor for you. And on the other side, if you're able to compress the ball and hit it low with less spin, then of course the wind effect will be less for all wind directions. So of course you can go very deep into data, but I want to keep it as simple and actionable as possible for you, so you don't have to come up with a calculator the next time you play a golf tournament. So I've created a basic wind formula for the average golfer. So this formula is based around a golfer that has an average height with average spin rate. So while it might not be 100% perfect for everyone, it is for sure better than doing nothing and relying on your gut feeling. So I told you the 4 basic effects that wind has on our golf ball, so let's do it for headwind now. Number 1, headwind will decrease your carry distance. So this is of course pretty obvious, as the wind puts force against the direction of the ball in the air, it leads to more resistance. This will lower the ball speed in the flight phase, leading to a loss in carry distance. But the question is, by how much? So here you can see the headwind formula. Playing distance is actual distance minus the actual distance times x mph. So this might sound overly complicated, but actually it's not. So let's give me a short example. So let's pretend you have 100 yards left to the hole with a headwind of 5 mph. So with that formula, your normal 100 yard shot will now only fly 95 yards. So 5% less. So for that case, you have to play a 105 yard shot. Or another example. you have 150 yards left with a headwind of 20 miles per hour. Your normal 150 yard shot will now only carry 120 yards. And if you calculate it through, you'll actually need a shot that normally goes nearly 190 yards without wind. So maybe it still sounds a bit theoretical here, that's why I created a PDF for you that you can download in the video description. So the PDF is absolutely for free and it contains exact tables for all different wind speeds and wind directions. So feel free to download it and use it as your own template when you play on the course. But headwind also has other effects on our golf ball, but I will keep that short. So generally you can say that headwind will increase height because the ball will rise up more in the air as the wind force increases the spin effect, easily spoken. But headwind will also decrease runout. So because your ball flight is higher, your landing angle gets deeper, leading to a bigger pitch mark, which then leads to less runout. And headwind also increases curve. So a draw draws more and a fade fades more. But as I said, I won't go into detail with curve here. So to sum it up, headwind will lower your distance and accuracy. Moreover, you should expect the ball to stop quickly on the green, maybe even with lots of backspin. And again, it's maybe a bit too fast and too abstract for you, so feel free to download the PDF via the link in the video description. I've put together a summary there with lots of practical examples and a full table where the wind formula is used to calculate exactly what distance you'll actually need to play at what wind speed. And before we go on with the tailwind, you might be asking yourself, how do I even know the wind speed? Well, the easiest thing is to download a wind app on your smartphone, but I know obviously these things are not allowed during a tournament. So that's why in the PDF I also put together a system where you can judge the wind based on natural circumstances. So you also have a formula in the PDF that tells you the wind speed based on movement of the flag, for example, or leaves on the ground. So make sure to check that out. It is really worth it and it's for free. So finally, the effects of tailwind. Well, I think we all like tailwind more than headwind because we hit our drives longer off the tee. And that's why effect number one is tailwind increases your carry distance. But why is that the case? Because tailwind puts force in line with the direction of the ball, leading to less resistance in the air. And this will lead to an increased ball speed, leading to a gain in carry distance. But the question is again, by how much? Well, you can use two formulas for that, so I will start with the simplest formula you have probably ever heard in your life. Tailwind influences carry distance only half as much as headwind. So let me give you an example again. So let's pretend you have a 7-iron that you normally hit 150 yards. So with a 10 mph headwind, your 7-iron now only goes 135 yards. But if you have now a 10 mph tailwind, your 7-iron goes 157.5 yards. So for that example, the wind effect for our 7-iron was 15 yards with a headwind and 7.5 yards with a tailwind. Or expressed in the wording of our former formula if you want it complicated. So why is that the case? Why does headwind have double the effect of tailwind? For that we have to talk about further effects of tailwind. So effect number 2, tailwind also decreases height as the ball will kind of get pressed down with lower spin. It's the so-called fall down effect. So this is the explanation why the same wind strength will lead to a bigger loss in a headwind scenario than gain in a tailwind scenario, as the loss in height also leads to a loss in carry distance. Nevertheless, the gain in carry distance due to lower resistance is bigger than the fall down effect, so overall a tailwind increases carry distance. But there are also other reasons why headwind has more effect on your golf ball than tailwind. But as I'm not a physicist, I definitely won't go into detail, and for us golfers, it is enough to understand that headwind has more effect on your golf ball than tailwind. So effect number 3, tailwind increases runout. So I think this should be pretty clear now. As we have fewer height with our ball flight, the landing angle will also lower. And that leads to a smaller pitch mark on the green, which then leads to more runout. And effect number 4, tailwind decreases curve. That is actually a nice side benefit of tailwind that most amateur golfers probably never think about. Because with tailwind, the amount of side spin will be decreased as the tailwind will counter more against that direction. So specifically that means your draw will draw less and your fade will fade less. So with tailwind, you're not only gaining distance, but you're also gaining more accuracy. So let's come back to my example, that scramble match that we had last year on my German YouTube channel. So I won it with my teammate, despite us being on paper the weaker team. And I can tell you that one big reason for that was we played the headwind holds better. Because we all like playing with tailwind and it's relatively easy to judge it, but playing with headwind is pretty hard. But now you have an exact formula that you can use on the golf course the next time when you play in windy conditions. So if you take nothing away from this video besides one thing, it would be that headwind has roundabout double the effect of tailwind. And I think this tip alone can save you from blowing up in these tricky conditions. So that's it from me. Leave a like if the video helped you and make sure to download your PDF for free in the video description. And make also sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content about golf strategy and course management. So subscribing is absolutely for free, and you best start with one of my latest videos where I talked about the myth of never leaving a putt short on your golf course, which actually ruins your golf score. So make sure to check that out and see you there.